Manx Radio's Update with Beth Espy.
Well, first of all, good evening. Welcome to Update, your rundown of what's been happening news-wise on the island today. Coming up before 5:30, we'll have more news on the Peel sewage works and how that's going. The DOI Minister says there will be more consultation on the proposed rollout of 20-mile-an-hour zones in residential areas. The clerk of the TT course looks ahead to this year's event, which is starting on Monday. And we look ahead to the reopening of a pop-up in Peel. If you're thinking Ibiza on the Isle of Man, this is going to be the place for you. We'll also have the latest weather, plus updates on traffic and travel to keep you moving. And we'd love to hear from you. You can text us 166 177, email studio@manxradio.com or find us on WhatsApp as well. We'll start with a roundup of the day's main news headlines with Siobhan Fastamai.
The construction of a long-awaited sewage treatment works for Peel is getting underway this week. It's being built on land close to the Heritage Trail and adjacent to Peel Power Station and will put an end to the pumping of untreated wastewater into the bay. A Douglas Central MHK wants the Department of Infrastructure to give other constituencies the opportunity to share their opinion before 20-mile-per-hour speed limits are implemented in residential areas. In a debate lasting over 2.5 hours yesterday, Anne Corlett presented an amendment to members calling on the DOI to properly engage and consult local authority areas.
I think really what I'm trying to push this back to is, what do you want in your community? Tell your MHK, tell your local authority representative, and hopefully people will get what they want.
The new general manager at Isle of Man Meats says early talks between the company and producers have been positive. The meat plant announced a new senior leadership team this week, something it's hoped will help restore trust following issues last year. And the Isle of Man TT Races clerk of the course says he and his team are always willing to engage with residents over the busy nature of the racing fortnight. As he prepares for his 13th year overseeing the event, Gary Thompson says he's aware of some of the frustrations the event can cause at times for riders, spectators and locals alike. Further afield, it's emerged that Russia might have been using Ukraine's own cameras connected to the internet and running along the border to spy on them. The UK and its allies claim to have uncovered an intelligence operation against transport networks and tech firms. Singer Chris Brown's out of jail and can perform on his world tour. He has to pay a £5 million security fee after appearing in court. And this isn't just any cyber attack on M&S, it's one that could last until July. Food orders are still offline. They're your headlines. I'll have your news at 6.
Thank you very much indeed, Siobhan. Now the weather brought to you by Manx Glass and Glazing. This evening it's going to stay dry. We're going to have clear skies overnight as well. Light, mainly northwest winds. They'll become easterly overnight and minimum temperatures will be around 8 or 9. Tomorrow, another dry day. Some cloud around at first in the morning. That will clear and then there'll be lengthy sunny spells by midday. Moderate to fresh east or northeast winds. They'll fall light and variable later. Top temperatures, it will get a little bit colder tomorrow, 15. Here's the thing then. Dry and bright for much of the day on Friday. Then that cloud is going to thicken later in the day. Rain will arrive throughout the evening. Light to moderate southwest winds and a highest temperature again of around 15. And it's really then going to turn quite unsettled and mixed from late on Saturday onwards. Spells of rain at times and stronger winds. But it could change, couldn't it? You never know. Sunset this evening, 9:25. Sunrise tomorrow morning, 4 minutes past 5.
Manx Glass and Glazing can supply and install single, double and triple glazing. Call 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
If you run a small business or just need more room in the back, Philshaw Vehicles has the perfect van or light commercial for all your needs and can sort out any finance. Based in the Tremode Estate, view philshawvehicles.im or call 49 51 49.
A great night's sleep got even better with Zed's Bedding Store. From quality Bell-Dorm bed linen and mattress protectors, fleece and woven throws to luxury duvets from the fine bedding company, Zed's Bedding Ramsey, next to Isle of Man Bank.
SMS Trading have moved to 3 St Paul's Square, Ramsey. For flat pack to fully built, new or second-hand furniture, SMS Trading offer all-island delivery and man-in-a-van service. Call 315151 or find SMS Trading on Facebook.
At Begode Cashery, we have been caring for animals for over 50 years. As a cashery, we care for customers' cats and treat them as our own. contact Begode Cattery on 676 947 or find Begode Cattery on Facebook.
This is Update on Manx Radio. It's exactly 5:05. So let's hear from that main story now that Siobhan was mentioning there. And the construction of a long-awaited sewage treatment works for Peel is getting underway this week. It's being built on land close to the Heritage Trail, adjacent to Peel Power Station. And what it's going to do is put an end to the pumping of untreated wastewater into the bay, as Siobhan explains.
Manx Utilities says work will start with site preparation, including the stripping of topsoil, setting up the site compound and installing security fencing. This will be followed by trenching work in preparation for the diversion of overhead electricity cables. There will also be some work to improve access to the site, which it says is not expected to significantly impact Glenfaber Road users. Well, if you feel like you've heard a lot about the works before spades even head into the ground, you'd be right. We finally saw progress in 2024 on the plans to build a sewage treatment works out west, with planning permission approved, then challenged, and then approved again for the plant. The appeal came from a party that owns land next to the upcoming works and claimed that incorrect planning procedure was followed and wrong information was supplied to the planning committee. The appealants, who have permission to build 21 houses on their field next to the Manx Utilities site, said they made multiple submissions in response to the planning application, but that their feedback wasn't taken into account. In the end, those complaints were not upheld and Manx Utilities was given the green light to continue with its plans. Commenting on the news today, Manx Utilities Chairman Douglas North MHK John Wannenberg said, "I am pleased to see this long-awaited project move forward, not only for Peel, but as part of the final 2 remaining projects to end the discharge of raw sewage into the sea around our precious coastline." The authority says further details of the programme will be released in due course.
Siobhan reporting there, and as ever you can find out more about that at manxradio.com. 7 minutes past 5, a Douglas Central MHK wants the Department of Infrastructure to give other constituencies the chance to give their opinion before 20-mile-an-hour speed limits are implemented in residential areas. Now, we know that the Infrastructure Minister, Dr Michelle Hayward, presented an implementation plan to Tynwald this week, setting out a staged timeline running until summer next year. It'll initially focus on Douglas and Onchan, followed by northern, central and southern areas of the island. And this debate lasted over 2.5 hours yesterday, and Anne Corlett, MHK, presented an amendment to members calling on the DOI to properly engage and consult local authority areas. She explained the reasoning to us behind this amendment.
The base of the amendment is that DOI must engage and consult with every local authority area, which was the best way to do it, I thought, because we need to involve local authorities, residents, businesses, schools. So they have to engage and consult before anything is implemented. So I felt that gave communities an opportunity to say what they want. That's what this is about. It's about what people want in their communities and the places that they live. And it's not all about safety. It is about the livability of our residential areas around our homes. Unclear maps, I think, set nerves jangling. So there was a part in the amendment to say they had to produce very clear maps and clearly tell people what they're doing. And that the end was that they must monitor the areas that they've put it in and evidence them and report on them, which just is common sense. Why would you just do it and then leave it? So that was the basis of it. This started out really with Douglas Central, and I started campaigning because people were getting in touch with me, overwhelming numbers in your inbox. So I went out and I knocked doors, and it became very apparent this was something that was wanted in our area. We've got 5 schools in Douglas Central. So the original motion really, obviously my intent was and still is to get this into the areas around the schools in Douglas Central. But the motion opened it to allow other constituency members to pursue this if they wished. So this is where we are now, and that my amendment yesterday really, when I was listening to the debate, it was very much around engagement and consultation. So it was a bit of a last-minute amendment in many ways, but I just wanted to give other constituency members that opportunity to have engagement and consultation before anything happens in their area.
Douglas Central MHK Anne Corlett explaining her amendment in Tynwald this week. Well, Rob Callister MHK has described the proposed rollout of 20-mile-an-hour zones as a political train crash.
It has taken a lot of work by a lot of MHKs, myself included, to get the department to engage with political members, but also, more importantly, to engage with the public. And I'm hoping that the department and the current DOI Minister actually learns lessons about how to engage with the Parliament, how to engage with our communities, and if there are going to be implementations, to bring forward implementations that the community want.
So that was Rob Callister. But speaking on Breakfast with us live this morning, Dr Michelle Haywood, the DOI Minister, said all local authorities would be consulted.
It's quite clear in the implementation plan where it says about our consultation and how we're going to carry that out and how we were going to work around in the areas and do a rolling programme. So I'm a little bit concerned that we've been accused of not consulting when the entire point of that, the latter part of the implementation plan, is about consultation. It was an all-island scheme, so we are looking at all residential areas. And I think that's only fair because it's not reasonable to say, well, the residents of Douglas Central deserve to have 20 mile an hour traffic past their front doors, whereas the residents in perhaps Garth or Ramsey don't deserve the same consideration for the environment they live in. So it's definitely not a blanket ban. It's not being imposed by the department. We are going out for consultation now, and then what the changes that we're proposing will be.
There were some comments as well around traffic calming and pedestrian crossings, and perhaps in some areas they might be more effective than 20 mile per hour zones. Is that something that your department would look at going forward? As in the implementation plan, after we put signs in, we'll monitor areas and check. And the next step up will be changing road layouts. And that might be introducing crossings. It might be introducing build-outs or speed humps or speed tables or whatever is appropriate for that location. If we're still having problems with high speeds there, the next step will be to engineer the road so that those speeds are reduced.
That is the DOI Minister, Dr Michelle Haywood, speaking on Breakfast this morning. Much more to that interview. You can listen to it in full as a newscast at manxradio.com. Coming up to 12 minutes past 5, or Tynwald for this month finished. It was just around sort of lunchtime-ish today. They have covered a lot of things this month, including the all-island leisure rate. We know now it will not be implemented by Tynwald following a failed motion by a Ramsey MHK. Laurie Hooper asked the court to approve a potential new system, which would mean residents in Douglas, Onchan and Braddon would have to pay towards the regional swimming pools. Currently, only those living in the north, west and south pay for the facilities. Our local democracy reporter Emma Draper has the details.
Mr Hooper said he put the motion forward because the current system is inequitable.
Everybody on the island should be asked to contribute towards the pools in the same way. There is no logical reason why people in the east should be treated differently from those in the rest of the island. Now, the reality is contributions from these regional rates don't raise a lot of money when compared to the total running costs of the pools. But the money that is raised from the rates has the effect of lessening the burden on the education budget. So it seems to me the system we currently have is unfair, with approximately half the people on the Isle of Man paying a rate and half not. And this has a detrimental impact on the budget available for our education service.
Treasury Minister and fellow Ramsey MHK Alex Allinson voted against the motion, telling Tynwald it would be papering over the cracks of a fundamentally flawed system and urged those thinking of standing next year to think about rate reform.
An all-island tax to fund swimming pools brought in as a compulsory extra rate will not solve the problems of how our regional pools are funded, how they're managed and their operations coordinated, or deal with any of the other issues in respect of the diverse provision of other leisure services and libraries around our island. What this nation has needed for decades is full rate reform to provide a fair, modern and equitable method of funding community services and facilities.
Whilst Douglas Central MHK Chris Thomas said that if the all-island leisure rate was introduced, it could mean that local authorities in the east run the NSC, like they do in the other areas. Julie Edge, who represents Onchan, told the court that residents in her constituency pay for Onchan Park, but people from across the island use the facility. She added that residents welcome people from across the island to the park, and that people can use all the swimming pools without paying rates for them. David Ashford, MHK for Douglas North, told the sitting that people living in the east bear the burden of higher rates, and suggested that other local authorities contribute to Douglas Council for the services it provides in the capital. The motion was voted down by 4 votes for to 19 against, but in the Legislative Council it was 5 for and 3 against.
That is our local democracy reporter Emma Draper just talking about the all-island leisure rate, which will now not be implemented by Tynwald. It's coming up to 5:15.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
So just a couple of things to mention. There is that emergency road closure tonight on the Mountain Road between the junctions with Craignabar and the Bungalow. So it'll shut from 6:30 for 2 hours or so. That's for emergency road repairs. Also in the Derby area tonight, the Spring Closed Circuit Cycling Series is on. That means between 7 and 9 there are restrictions to traffic on the Coast Road, Ballabaron Road and Ballamona Road. In Santon until 4:30 tomorrow, there are temporary lights on the Newcastletown Road at Newtown. That's for emergency electrical repairs. There are also temporary lights on the Newcastletown Road between the Springfield Road and Annika Lane junctions. That's for those ongoing repairs to a collapsed culvert and wall. And in Glenmona, there are temporary lights on the Coast Road for emergency manhole repairs. Haven't heard about anything else specific on the roads from the police pages, which is good news. All okay down at the airport and at the steam packet as well.
Ask how you can spread the cost interest-free at Quayside.
OK, we're going to stay with Tynwald now because the Tynwald Standards Committee was dealt a blow after politicians vetoed calls for the Chief Minister to withdraw comments made about his former Health Minister. Now, Alfred Cannon had described Laurie Hooper's resignation statement as fabrication, falsehood and gaslighting. The committee said the remarks were unacceptable and recommended they be withdrawn, but the motion failed with the majority of politicians overruling the Standard Committee's findings.
The committee has made errors in the past, in my opinion, and unfortunately they have once again failed to arrive at the correct conclusion with regard to this investigation. The political history books are full of personality clashes and intense rivalries, and Tynwald Court is no exception to this situation. This has been experienced in other parliaments right across the world. In fact, some visiting parliamentarians and members of the public listening outside to this chamber believe we're often too polite and far too accommodating towards each other in this honourable court.
To be quite blunt, the public are absolutely fed up of what's going on in here with the bickering and the name-calling and the personal contexts that creep into this. So, for goodness sake, let's get this issue resolved and move on and deal with proper business like we are elected to do in here, rather than this personality clashes.
What must the public think? When someone resigns for reasons of their own, that is their right, and it speaks to their integrity, and I admire that. When someone speaks their mind honestly, I think that is courageous, and it speaks to their character. I admire that as well. What should have happened in here is a recognition that things got heated, but to end up where we are today is absolutely pathetic. We are all far too easily offended, every one of us.
That was the North Douglas MHK, John Wannenberg, ending there. Before that, we heard MHK's Tim Glover and Rob Callister. What do you think then? Are you fed up of these personality clashes? Would you like to see something different happen? There is a very detailed article on the Manx Radio website about this, so you can find out all the details there. Coming up to 18 minutes past 5, Onken Commissioners has agreed to host a civic reception in honour of one of its former members. Now, Derek Crellin will be recognised for his contribution to public services in the village and his 25 years on the board. New Commissioner John Hamilton, who proposed the idea at last night's board meeting, said Mr Crellin had a wealth of knowledge and supported him during the election process. Again, our local democracy reporter Emma Draper was there and spoke to Mr Hamilton after the meeting.
I decided to propose for Derek Crellin to have a civic reception to recognise the 50 years service he's given to the Onken community. Very community-spirited chap. I'd only met Derek through my involvement coming to the meetings prior to becoming a commissioner, and I was quite taken with the way he dealt with things around the boardroom table. I think somebody who's given half a century's commitment to an authority in a town deserves some sort of recognition and commend his service to the public.
It's a little reception that you're going to hold. Is that something that you came up with yourself, or was that a suggestion from another board member or the clerk?
I think it's a combination of a few things. It was something I wanted to do. Having spoken to the clerk, he suggested that a civic reception would be the ideal forum to do that in and recognise Mr Crellin for his services to the Onken people.
And how do you think he'll take it?
I think he'd be quite honoured and feel quite taken by it. It'll be a surprise. So I hope that he accepts it on our behalf, and good luck to him for the future, and thank him for the service he's given to the people of Onken.
Was he someone you to and asked for advice when you decided to stand to be a commissioner?
Yes, I did have a few conversations with Derek on various board meeting nights in the public arena. I like the fact that Derek can see outside the box various things and change my way of thinking about certain matters. So, yeah, a man with a lot of experience, a wealth of knowledge.
Oh, isn't that lovely? That's the Onchan Commissioner John Hamilton, and that civic reception hopefully to be held in honour of Derek Crellin. Coming up to 5:20 with 5 days to go until TT 2025, the clerk of the course says they'll always engage with residents over the busy nature of the racing fortnight. Gary Thompson, now coming into his 13th year overseeing the event, says he understands some of the criticism from locals, competitors and fans when there is disruption to race and qualifying sessions.
Yeah, I can appreciate the fans do get frustrated, but for me the biggest point is safety. And obviously the Friday of last year's we lost Friday in its entirety because of weather, and then we had the RTA on the mountain, which obviously put a delay into the programme. There's only so many races we can fit into a day, and also bearing in mind the amount of laps that competitors do.
Some residents are still not fans of the TT. How much do you have to work as a team to try and keep other residents on side?
Yeah, I completely get that. Since I've been clerk of the course, I've always made the decisions for any delays, cancellations or whatever as early in the day as I possibly can. And I continue to do that because I'm acutely aware of that disruption. Before my time, I think they used to close the roads, and there was continuous 15-minute delays, blowing a hoolie, and there'd be driving rain and that. And you think, well, everybody knew it wasn't going to take place, so why close the roads? So we would always keep the roads open because that minimises the disruption of the public. It stops the competitors hanging around on the start line wondering what's going on. It prevents marshals being stood on point, getting absolutely wet through for no reason at all. If any residents do have issues, whatever that may be, we are very quick and very proactive to engage with them and to help them out as much as we possibly can.
There have been occasional incidents over the years of maybe people trespassing onto the course intentionally or unintentionally. What can you do around safety, around that side of things? Continue to kind of bring home the message by not following the rules. You really can be putting someone's or several people's lives at risk.
Absolutely. For me, I can't think of any other message that is more crystal clear, really. If any vehicle or any pedestrian goes onto the TT course whilst roads are closed, they'll be breaking the law and they will be subject to a heavy fine and or imprisonment.
That is clerk of the TT course, Gary Thompson, talking to Rob. A very stark warning there. You can hear that interview in full as a sportscast, which you can find on our social media pages and our sports page as well. 5:22. Now, pop-up businesses do seem to be getting more and more common, and in recent days preparations have been getting underway to create an Ibiza-style bar on Peel Promenade. It's on the site of the former swimming pool. Meta Lounge opened throughout August last year, but this time it is back for 4 months starting tomorrow. Christian Jones has been sitting down with the owner Melanie Webb to find out more.
Well, last year we just wanted to see how the Meta Lounge was received by Peel and, the island as a whole. Unfortunately, the weather was against us last year, so August was abysmal for the weather, and we got a storm coming in when we were going to do the Pride weekend. So we decided we'd go for a long summer this year, get TT in as well. So we opened the weekend before TT and run right through till September.
A lot of business owners, especially hospitality, tend to gravitate towards Douglas, but you've obviously picked Peel. Was that a conscious decision to create a presence away from Douglas?
Yeah, so you see a lot of sort of beachside activities going to Port Erin, but, I grew up in Peel and I wanted to take something back to my local community, and you're not going to get a better sunset anywhere on the Isle of Man.
And we obviously know that there was an opening of a large hospitality chain. How do you think that affects the hospitality landscape as a whole?
I think we all need diversity. Obviously, James and Diane have done a great job with Wetherspoons. It's something different for the island, and we need to be moving forwards all the time and encouraging new businesses, I think. Any competition's good competition at the end of the day.
That is the owner of Meta Lounge, Melanie Webb, talking to Christian there. Again, much more to that interview. If you go to the good news section on our website, you can find a link to the full interview. And there have been ticket giveaways here on Manx Radio for Meta Lounge as well. Somebody who likes a bit of Ibiza, I've heard, is our Rob Pritchard. Yeah, I can see you with your glow sticks. No?
Never held a glow stick in my life.
I can make that happen for you, Rob. Anyway, sport.
Yes, indeed. Starting with motorsport, rider Jamie Coward has been ruled out of this year's Isle of Man TT races. In a statement, the competitor says this is due to injuries sustained in a crash of the Northwest 200 in Northern Ireland early this month. The Yorkshireman says he's absolutely devastated to withdraw from the racing fortnight, and gutted is an understatement. Meanwhile, this afternoon, it's been announced that Mike Brown will take Coward's place on the KTS Racing powered by Stanley Stewart BMW machine for the 1000cc races. The Irishman had previously been due to contest the Superbike, Superstock and Senior races with MLAV Racing. Well, Brown says, first and foremost, he's wishing Jamie a speedy recovery and is looking forward to getting started with the KTS Racing squad. Elsewhere, Manx triathlete Will Draper will represent Great Britain in the sport next month. The Ireland athlete has announced he's been selected for the GB squad to take on the Elite World Long Distance Triathlon Championships in Pontevedra, Spain on the 28th and 29th of June. He's one of 22 competitors already confirmed in the Elite Men's category for the event and will take on a 3-kilometre swim, 120-kilometre cycling course and 30-kilometre running route. In Jiu-Jitsu, competitors from Summit Grappling Academy have secured 5 medals during their latest competition in Europe. The Ireland club enjoyed success across both the IBJJF Rome Open and IBJJF Kids European Championships, which ran alongside each other in Italy last weekend. In the Rome Open for senior competitors, Hayley Curtis claimed 2 gold medals across her division and the open weight category in her return to competition after a lengthy recovery from injury. Elsewhere, coach Sarah Redmond took gold by default as there was no opposition in her weight class. Meanwhile, the Academy's junior squad took on the Kids European Championship, with both Alan Greenhalgh and Hanako Henson taking silver medals in their respective competitions. And finally, Her Royal Highness the Princess Royal will officially open the 2025 International Island Games in Orkney. Princess Anne will attend the opening ceremony at Kirkwall's Bignell Park on Saturday the 12th of July. Running from the 12th to the 18th of July, the event as a whole is expected to involve around 2,000 athletes from 24 island groups, including the Isle of Man.
Indeed, and you are going to be there, aren't you, Rob?
I am indeed, yes.
Yeah, not competing, obviously, although I'm sure you'd be brilliant. If there is needing anybody on the team, you would be my first choice. But we're going to have full coverage of the Isle of Man competitors from Orkney.
We are indeed.
Yes. You want me to stop now, don't you? That is all from Update this evening. Coming up next on Manx Radio, it's Spotlight with Howard Kane, supported by the Isle of Man Arts Council. At 6 p.m, Greatest Hits with Chris Kinley. Ernie Thorne has the Opera Hour from 9, and then Dave Moore will be with you from 10 with After Hours. As I say, do go to the Manx Radio website for the full details on all tonight's top stories. Enjoy the sunshine tonight, make the most of it while you can, and we'll talk to you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.